Hello, now am I coming in properly? Sorry for if there was a delay there. Let me know if I'm coming through now because I think it's because I cleaned up a bunch of stuff in the streaming software that I'm not a good tech guy and I cleaned up too much. I cleaned up the audio part and now it's back. What's actually good about that is that if I need to switch the audio so you can hear the song I'm going to make directly instead of having to hear it through my speaker and then through the input and then through the internet, like it's mostly going to be, I will now have a shortcut to figure out how to go to the other audio source. And what I was going to say in my intro that was muted is that for any future viewers who are just here for the music in the title, that will be happening after I do some intro chatting, but there will be timestamps and chapters added after the stream for when those different parts happen. And for anyone who's here just for my math facts, like I do in a lot of videos and streams, not only will I probably rant about those at some point or another, but additionally, there's a lot of math in music. And I didn't always realize quite how connected they were because I loved doing both activities, making music in various forms from, writing songs that were almost classical like to writing rock songs to writing hip hop songs and various things. And I thought of that as almost more of the spiritual part of me, and the math as more of the objective part of me. Because there's some parts about music and how it sounds good to us that are a little hard to quantify, but some parts of it can be certainly put into mathematical terms, and some of the things that I've mentioned in past episodes, just due to their math, will show up in music theory episodes eventually. For example, what shape do you get when you take a 12-hour clock and hop 5 hours at it, or let's say hop 7 hours at a time? You go like tick, 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 tick. You paint out this spiky star shape. That was in an episode about prime numbers. It will also be in an episode about music theory and about why our scale works. And first, eventually, there will be some very interesting things I want to cover, like alternate types of scale, ways to turn noises into other noises. But to start, at some point on the channel, in grade -2, I'll be doing, mostly on the main channel, but on here as well, so a bunch of music theory lessons of the Demotro style of learning chords and scales and stuff. Now, this is something I've wanted to do a while, but some of my energy to teach music has been a little drained because that's my day job. I have a lot of students who I love. They're awesome, but it's time for me to move on from that and focus on ComboClass. And so, like I mentioned a stream or two ago, I'm going to have to quit the majority of my students in March. Hope that it's a good call to focus my time on ComboClass and on the books I'm writing and stuff. And it'll also kind of, give me that time when I was going to be teaching music to maybe want to teach music to you guys instead. And that will, before we get to really obscure stuff, just involve some tutorials of Demotro style, how to learn piano or guitar or what are scales or what are chords. And whoever said they have to go, feel free to come back later after the stream. There will be timestamps of the stuff. And I am going to chat and answer the comments before I jump into the music, so now's a good time to leave any comments or questions. Of course, later I'll check all of them, but when I get into the beat making, I'll probably just look at that and not look at the comments for a minute. So, because I'm going to shrink my face and have the music on the screen. Now, before we jump right into this, let me note a few things about it. One is that the audio won't be perfect because later I might try and hijack you guys into hearing the actual computer's audio, but for now I'm just going to be playing it loud on my speaker, coming through, going back through that part, going to you guys. So it's going to sound worse than it'll show up later. Second thing, and that's a fun one, is that I'm finishing my edit on the next main channel episode, and so maybe I'll throw a piece of this beat in the soundtrack last minute, or maybe as like the outro credits or something. Throw it last minute, switch up a soundtrack to include this on the next main channel episode. Another note is that I like playing all styles of music. This is going to lean toward particularly only using digital stuff. I like live instruments too, but today we're just in digital land, which does make it, in a way, quicker to get the mathematical analogies because it looks really mathematical the way we're in this digital thing. And the math is, sort of going in two ways. You have your which notes are you playing math, and how do those combine? And then you have what time are things happening math. How long do things last? How long are gaps and spaces and repeats and stuff? So there's a lot of math in there. But on the beat making today, we're gonna make the type of beat that I've been putting in the main channel episodes that I make. That those are a bunch of beats I made last year that we're using digital instruments here mostly. Some of them are older ones that had some live instruments that I made, but a lot of these were just a batch I made when I was stuck at home recovering from not a surgery. I had to get 2 surgeries last year, but believe it or not, I also broke my leg and was in a wheelchair the year before that. It was a really hard couple years. I broke my femur, the biggest bone in my body, and when I was stuck at home, I made a bunch of beats. And those are a bunch of the ones in the soundtracks. Now, I partially made them actually to rap and or sing over, because I like making actual went off for a minute, but I was able to click it back on. Okay, not gonna get near it, hope it still works. Anyway, this type of beat that I'm making is gonna be partially something that maybe I'll use like my other beats as a song to rap and or sing over. Which I have made many albums and mixtapes that involve rapping and some singing over the years. They're under different names, so very few of my fans know about them. I did release to some of my higher tier Patreons the name of all that because they get some stuff early. And to all my $6 plus Patreons, I do need to note real quick that I posted yesterday MP3s of a bunch of the beats for people who want to hear all the old ones that are more finished than what we're going to get today because I spent multiple days on them. And those are the ones that are in the background of the episodes. So I posted a bunch of MP3s of those for the Patreons who are $6 and plus. So today's beat, maybe I'll rap and sing over in the future someday. It also may be put in the soundtrack in the background. Often what I've been doing now is when I put the beats in the soundtrack, I reduce the treble on them, which is the high end of the noise spectrum. And that's so it doesn't clash with my voice as much, because my voice and or clocks crashing or stuff like that would be slightly on the higher range compared to if I put the beats lower to match that. So some of them, sound more muted in the episodes on purpose, whereas the real versions are a little sharper sounding, like the drums and stuff, because maybe they will be the background of some sort of song in the future. But like I said, before I jump into that, I am going to check the comments real quick. Now, hello, most of the comments are about how I was muted for a while. So I'll have to put a warning when I put up the timestamps here. Somebody asked my favorite section of math, and I can't pick a favorite because that's too broad or big of a question. However, I'll say currently my favorite is number theory. That is the one I've been having the most fun with these days. So, thank you all for joining me. And we are going to jump into this programming in a moment. And let me shrink us, because before we jump into it, we'll do a little funny thing real quick. And to whoever said that I should explore the Mandelbrot set or fractals, I definitely will. There was a fractal mentioned in a previous episode, but the Mandelbrot set I am waiting to do, because I kind of want to work with a programmer or animator who can make a version of it that's unique for the show. Kind of like with the Mandelbrot set, don't want to just use someone else's image of it. I want someone to make a ComboClass Mandelbrot set. So if anyone wants to do that, let me know on the Discord or something. And jumping into this, before we make the song, what we're actually gonna do is, let me shrink this and note that the title I have put here is untitled, and then I was gonna put in parentheses, we'll let the chat name it, but then I thought it would be funnier if I said we'll let ChatGPT name it, because I had that open from the other day. As we noted, we will come back to the ChatGPT stream in the future, because to everyone who clamored about there's new updates since your last video about it, they're better at math. They're barely better at math. They're awful. They used to get half of the stuff right. Now they get like 2/3 of the stuff right. Still not good enough to ever trust it in your homework or whatever. 1/3 of the answers are ridiculous. But maybe they'll also give us a good name for a song. Now, I've never tried something like that, giving it a creative prompt. And so we'll try that real quick. And we're going to ask them, what would be a good name for a song, or for an instrumental song that would be the soundtrack of a video about math and be a good title for a banger hip-hop beat. Oh, I didn't put a parentheses. How about the equation? It's simple, straightforward, has a nice ring to it. Okay, maybe we'll go with that. We'll try one more recommendation, but for now we're going with the equation. Please list a few more examples. The math. They like the followed by something. Oh, number theory. We were just talking about number theory. Calculus flow, geometric groove, trigonometric tracks, the formula funk. They got some good suggestions here. All right, chat, vote. Put 0 for the equation, or a number 1 through 10 for what you want the song to be called. So, you guys are a little delayed, so I'm going to let the chat vote for a second. I'm going to run and grab my other extension cord so we can be plugged in from a little further. I'll be back in one moment, and whatever number 0 through 10 gets the most votes, that's what we'll call the song. All right, folks, we are back. I also grabbed something interesting. So, I have 2 rare fruits here. These we will do for a snack break in between some beat making. Now, this orange is redder on the outside than the average orange. What's up with that? And what's this little thing? Leave a comment if you know what any of these are. And this one actually grew in my yard to a degree. It was a newly planted tree, and this was somewhat already grown on it, but basically came from the yard. And there may be more coming in the yard in the future, so we may see the vine where this came from. Leave a comment if you know what those are. And I'm going to check what got the most votes. Gotta pull it open on my phone. And very soon we'll be jumping into that beat making. Don't worry, folks. No ads, no ads. That'd be the worst thing ever if I have to watch an ad here and then the audio plays in here and I get copyright flagged for having to watch an ad. So, let's see. We got a 7, a 9. I'm going to need to tally these. I'm just going to tally them here. Okay, we got a 7, a 9, 3 or 8. I'll give half a vote to each of those. And actually, no, it's the Magic Fellow who helps me out on Discord and is awesome. So we're giving a full vote to each of those. And we got 7. Well, let's see. Yeah, not everyone can vote twice. I'm only letting Magic Fellow vote twice because he's helped me out so much on the Discord. And we got another 3 or 8, which was the vote of those. So those have like an extra full vote. Those have like at least a full vote each. And then we get a 6. Oh god, these are really scattered. And let's see. Yeah, people, 1 vote. We got a 7, another 7. Okay. I think 7 wins. So I see... No, 8. We got another 8. Oh, 8 wins. So yeah, 8 is the winner. What's 8? The Formula Funk. I like it. So we're going to have to lean towards slightly funky on our beat. And we are going to call it the Formula Funk. Can I just rename it up here? How can I make that happen easy? Okay, I'm going to rename it the Formula Funk, folks. I don't want to, like, open up weird stuff on my computer trying to rename this right now. So you guys don't get to see all my writings quite yet. So here what we're going to do is, let me see if I'm at a good spot. I'm at the perfect spot. And here is where I will put the timestamp of us actually beginning our beat, which was called Formula Funk by ChatGPT and ChatComboLord. And that's what our, collective decision-making skills can be. If you average a lot of opinions, you often get close to a good one. Well, maybe not opinions, but average a lot of guesses about a thing. Now, with this beat, we're not going to be doing a speedrun tutorial. Maybe sometime in the future I'll show you like how fast can I make a cool beat. That'd be fun, but I want to explain some of the processes as I go because this is the first time I've done this on the channel, and it'll be pretty fun to just tell you a few things going on, either in creative terms or mathematical terms, or you guys can guess the crossovers. So we have a basically blank slate here. I picked an electric piano as my first instrument, but that was arbitrary. It could have been any of these. Now, I'm saying make a beat from scratch and blank slate by meaning I'm using these tones that are in GarageBand, which isn't the best programming software ever. You'd want to use other ones if you want to make your thing sound super polished, and sometimes either me or often a friend will take my files when they're done and mix them in some other program. GarageBand has a lot of limits, but it does the trick, and sometimes having a limited canvas can be kind of fun and can, give you some extra excuses to have to be creative when you have the limited canvas. Like, we don't have a million different tones here. I haven't downloaded that many. We got a few tones. We're going to have to figure out which ones sound good and make them sound good. Now, when I say blank slate and from scratch, that does mean I'm using their tones here. I'm not designing this from scratch, but really what would that mean? Even if you play it on a guitar, do you have to build the guitar for it to be from scratch? Do you have to grow the tree that the guitar is made out of? Like when you say you're making a meal from scratch, you're not usually milling the flour yourself. So, yeah, from scratch often means you're using slightly pre-prepared ingredients that came from a factory. So here, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing from scratch using these little parts. Now, when we start with a beat, we have to sort of pick our time signature and maybe our tempo. Our tempo we can switch as we're going. We can't just switch the time signature halfway. Now, when I mean switch the tempo, I don't mean I'm going to have a tempo shift in the song where it changes mid-song. I mean, like, if we want, we can speed up or slow down the song. And the 4/4 here, though, the time signature, which basically means you get 4 beats per little sector called a measure. But technically, it also means that those beats are counted as each one's called a quarter note. 4 quarter notes. So I'll explain more about time signatures, but this is later. This is the most common by far. Weirdly, it's just the catchiest to the human ear. So 3/4 is used sometimes. Other ones that are versions of that fraction, like 6/8 or 2/2 or 2/4, stuff like that are sometimes used, similar fractions. But 4/4 is the most common. We're going with that. Now, picking the key here, not going to be that necessary for me because, I'll set it when I pick my key of my song, which is sort of the predominant scale and key that it uses. Well, I used key in the definition of key. Predominant scale and maybe chord that it uses. But here's the thing. Let's just program a random note and let me make sure my volume's good enough. And we're going to see how I could write it as sheet music like I did in the thumbnail. I will be using some sheet music in some tutorials in the future. Might as well at some point give you guys my Demotro tutorial on how to read it this way. However, right now, I'm actually going to be using this thing. Now, some people even like popping up this little window they have that's a little computer keyboard that you can type stuff in. But typing on the computer keyboard and trying to feel like it's a real keyboard feels too limited to me. What we're actually going to do is program where the notes go. Now, programming where the notes go could be done with this, the sheet music that they're calling, the name, the score. But we're going to do it here. There's a difference between them. Here, I'm seeing sort of which scale note it is, and we add sharps or flats if it's out of scale, and I set the scale there, which would put an automatic set of sharps and flats here. And that's good for reading music. But this is kind of cool for programming music because look at how far apart these are here. It's including the white keys and the black keys the same amount apart. So like if I go up or down one, it's not treating from white key to white key as what looks the same. It's treating from the smallest step you could go, which is called a half step in here and has other names, a semitone and stuff. But we'll call it a half step. And that little increment of a half step is kind of cool if you know the math of how far apart half steps of different intervals are. Intervals being 2 notes together, their relationship. And chords often being 3 of them, or sometimes 4 of them together. And with these notes here, I like the way where we're going to see the half steps apart instead of the way where we're going to program the key and see scale notes apart when I'm programming this music. Some might find that weirder, but it's kind of neat. So if I start with a chord, for example, here, just to set where we're at, this would be a C major chord, give us a bright tone. I'm actually going to start with a minor chord. We'll let it go major for its next chord, maybe. Now, we'll also move it up a bit so that C is a really common one, just so it sounds a little less likely to sound like more songs, and so we can have fun with seeing a random one. We'll move it somewhere else. And in fact, we'll move it to a nice and simple key, although this is also a very common key. We'll move it down to A minor. And in fact, since that's such a common one, maybe we'll move it somewhere slightly different. Let's move it to E minor. Now, here's the cool thing. Here's an E minor chord. And we're turning off this metronome. And here's a good question for the clock lovers out there, like you know I am. Is a metronome a clock? So that's something to ponder. Now, because, you know, I'm on a clock quest where I promised 400 of them, so can 50 of those be metronomes? Now, the cool thing about looking at it this way is C minor, or E minor, look. E flat minor. D minor. They all basically sound the same but slid up because they're all the minor chords starting from different notes in what we can call root position. Now, since I am going to do more thorough music theory lessons, I'm going to jump into programming a little bit of stuff. And you folks can, I'll check the comments once in a while, so you can feel free to leave those. I'll have them up here just in case something weird happens on the screen. And what we're going to jump into is just me making some notes, a little less explaining, but we will do some explaining for sure. Now, I kind of want to prop this up on something. Here's what we're going to do. Maybe we'll take this weird old bread box thing. No, that thing is... Okay, that thing is too much chaos. We'll just have me going downward a little bit. We're good here. So, let's try looking at... I'm going to just place where I might want there to be chords to hit a chord shift. Let's say I want A minor to happen for a while, and then in the last, say, fourth of the measure, I will, well, no, let's have it halfway through the second measure, which is like the fourth of a two-measure sector. We'll switch the chord. Now, the first one we could switch the chord to, we'll do a simple one, which is going to be, let's go to the major fifth. And the major fifth is going to be a B major. And so we're going to have to lower these fellas. There we go. That's the start of our formula funk. And we may switch chords later, but we're going to loop this a minute, and I'm going to think about what tempo or speed we might want to set it. So it needs to go a lot slower. I'm going to set it pretty slow. Now, an interesting thing is if I had set this at 160 instead of 80, exactly twice it, or theoretically if I had set it at 40, I could have made the same song and just look more or less stretched. But we'll leave this as a default for right now for a moment. Now, instead of having a whole loop like that, though, because I'm going to fill in more notes, I'm not going to want the whole thing to be that much of a copy. So what we'll let it do is, and actually, you know, let's see, let's maybe stretch it out a bit the other way, and no, this will be good. Let's see. We'll try this for now. I'm copying just some chords here, and what I'll do is I'll put these a little lower, and we'll mess with the effects on them later, but right now I'm just putting them in one of the grand piano tones. Actually, the only piano tone I have here, so we'll mess with the settings a little. Maybe this one does this note higher on an octave up. It's also just sounding a little low. I'm going to do some inversions of these where I put these chord notes an octave higher already. That's sounding better for the pitch that human ears will like. Now we want something funky maybe, so we'll go like, we need a little bounce. So I'm going to be putting these things at slightly sporadic rhythms to hit a bounce of sorts. That sounds kind of cool. We'll roll with that for now. One, two. Maybe we'll go up on this one. They'll sound better when I fix the rhythm. And let's make some of these a little longer. And are we missing one? We want one there too. Or do we? What's going on here? I'm spacing this off somehow. What's going on? Oh, it's because it's not lined up. That's tripping me out. There we go. Now we're lined up properly. I'll try and turn us up a bit, and hopefully it comes through at all. Now, we're going to add some other instruments, and we might change this fella in a minute, but it'll sound okay. Actually, yeah, we'll change its tone in a minute. We'll leave it nice and clear for now, because that'll help us catch what melodies will sound good together. And we're going to put on one or two more melodic ones, and then we're going to work on the percussion for a bit. So for one or two more melodic ones, I go track, new track, I want a software one, and let's try some sort of lower synthesizer to give us some sort of good bassy tone. And what we'll try is maybe the ones under bass. And we're just going to have to skip through a few of these because some are really weird sounding. I'm going to just listen to these on their own for a moment. We need a funky one. Yeah, this one is a little funky. Yeah, maybe if I can turn off the echo on that one. No delay. Don't want this decay, I guess. Uh-oh, I needed some of it. Nope, that wasn't the issue. Let's try a few more of the synth ones. I don't want the echo on these. So let's see. No, I'm changing them too much. I'm just going to fiddle around because I'm not in a rush. Maybe this one if we put it really higher? Nah. I'm just getting distracted, having fun going through all of these. Maybe vintage fun? Yeah, that's similar to the name of our song, and it works. We're gonna use this one. However, this is actually not the type I was thinking it was going to be. I was thinking of like a low or more sustained one in the background, but this is kind of sort of a bouncy one, but we'll still try and use it. So we already went down to like do, do, do on the last one, but which notes were we doing that? We were going from G to E, so maybe it will sound different if we're going from E to here. Now that note makes it sound a little spooky, but let's see if it fits, even though it's a little strange of a sounding note in the context. We'll go with that for now. These are going to sound pretty similar, but we'll add some other sounding elements in a moment. Now we're going to go for a different type of sound, and our last melodic one before we go to adding some percussion. So leave a comment if any of these names sound like things you want me to add in a minute. For now, maybe we will do something orchestral. Maybe we'll do some brass. And maybe we'll make it just a subtler effect when we put on it. How are the trumpets gonna sound? So I don't want as much reverb. That sounds pretty cool to use the trumpet somehow. Now, the other ones were going in a sort of bouncy thing, so this one's actually going to go a little more on steady times to make it a little more clear. Maybe if I make these ones way quieter. Sounding a little strange for our funk beat, but it'll sound cool once we get everything in place. Now, that's a sort of quick time for it to loop, so we might change it a bit more in a minute, but for now I want to put an effect on it. I want to add some background. A thing I put on these a lot is their distortion effect, because you can sort of choose how much you want it, and then you can also have some settings that are cool about adjusting the way it sounds backgroundy versus foregroundy. So let's see if we can give this a cool effect. I'm going to turn these low ones really low. Oops. Or maybe we'll lower them an octave if that doesn't sound too bad. Yeah, now I'm going to double it to give it a little more room, but we'll add even a little more distortion. Now, we can mess with that again later if we want, but for now I'm going to copy this and then switch some of them. I might make these even shorter sounding to give them like a, not saying the musical term sharp, but a sharper sound. Not the musical term sharp, just like sound sharper. It's a little too much adjustment. We will adjust them slightly. And this one gets to go for length. So does the other one right here. And we need to copy this. I'll adjust this timing a bit. fact put the piano a little more backgroundy as well. And we're gonna do a similar thing with a little less of the distortion. Now I'm going to add some percussion. So what we're going to do is start off with some type of lower drum, like a kick, which is like or like an 808 like thing. And we're going to use an electronic one because the real one sounds sort of fake coming through here. Like, I'll do real instrument music lessons at some point, but while we're on here, we're just going to be using a more digital sound. And let's see how these sound for some of the important notes, which they keep down here on the drum, this particular drum kit type. I mean, like all these ones, I think. A lot of pianos or like MIDI controllers or whatever, the drum tones are set up where this C1 is like your kick, and C2 is like some sort of snare-like thing, although they sometimes have multiple options. And I just want to see, we're not going to go that fast, don't worry. It's going to go more like there. But I don't like that one's sound. I might just go with that trapdoor for now at the end. I don't know. Leave a comment if you like other ones. So we're gonna go. Let's see how this will sound. Now, this is a good technique I like, where I copy my thing and then I put it here with a little change or addition. Like, there's my little addition. Makes the second one similar to the first, but with a little more variation. This is sort of a one measure loop, but of the chord progression that I'm having them follow, but I wanted them to have a little variety. Some things will want to have even more variety, but to start, if we have some 2-bar loops, we can sort of first figure out which ones sound good together, because once we make a bunch of instruments, they don't all have to be going at the same time. Different ones can lead into each other. Sounds alright for now. Let's see if this is the same one that we would want to put any hi-hats in, how their tones for that sound. Whoa. Oh, that's because I'm on Vintage Funk. I was like, that they have a lot of that type of sound in the drum kit. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we got some. Yeah, let's try and use some of these for now. Maybe we'll use mostly this closed hi-hat, and we're going to just scatter it for a minute to see if it helps. Yep. Let's see if I want to double this every measure or not. not. Maybe just that time. And we may even do something weirder the fourth round once we make this less repetitive. Because we can always just take part of this, copy it, and stretch it into a longer, newer, weirder thing. Let's see if I want any more harder. Let's see if this works. If it This one we're going to make a little quieter too than the other. A little quieter. Okay. So let's see. Actually, this might seem like I'm overusing this distortion one on here, but I really like how it makes them sound a little closer to either real instruments or to better software's digital instruments, because the GarageBand ones have this somewhat cheesy tone to them, and so this distortion gets me around some of the cheesy tone. Should be good. Maybe we can stretch these notes longer. Do they do anything if they go longer? These are such short. Let's try and change this tone a bit. That'll be the start of our thing for now. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add a slightly more melodic instrument maybe. Or maybe what we'll start with is a chord-like thing called an arpeggio, which is sort of like when you stretch out a chord's notes individually. And do they have something like a harp here? So let's see. Orchestral. They do have a harp. Now, I wonder, sometimes the harp things have too much reverb afterward. Like, that's going to linger too long and, like, be affecting the next note a little bit. Although some notes that might work for. Can I remove that all? It still has a crazy amount of reverb just in the sound that's built in. See, the problem with that is it's going to linger for so long that it's going to maybe conflict with the other chord. And so I'm going to do a different one here. What is the... Oh, I don't even have those. What other things will sound cool for an arpeggiator? Not arpeggiator. That's going to try and do it for me. Stringed. What do they have here? What do these sound like? Whoa. That would sound cool if I can get rid of all that reverb like the other one. Okay, this isn't seeming to change it for some reason. It still leaves like a lot of sound in the air after. Oh, now it doesn't. What is this gonna sound like? It's kind of cool. Oh no, it's another E for a minute. It's a little too fast. That one sounds different for some reason, but it might sound cool in context. That might sound cool. Let's see how it sounds with the others. Now, to test them at this point, we might not want all of them going. So what we'll try is, we're just going to see if that sounds good without the trumpets and that. And then we'll add them. Did I not change the thing quick enough? Oh yeah, it really should be almost like this every time. Yeah, I spread this one twice as far as it should be, so it's going to need a little adjustment, but... The way I spread it out twice by accident would have been how it would have been if it was 160 tempo. Like I mentioned earlier, those can be similar but squished. I'm going to make these a little higher pitched and then change a little bit which one's the lower pitched one. And make a background one. What if we add this choir right here, just as a subtle background version of the chords? Where was that? Like I said, I went on this point to more just doing than explaining, but I'll explain the math behind all of this in a more thorough episode at some point on the main channel, as well as in bits over the course of streams for viewers who are, you know, engaged enough for that. That note's actually shared by both chords, so I was able to do that. Make it stretch there. A lot of people will probably either have no idea what's going on, or I don't know, the opinions of people who do know what's going on. One person here said that it's sick, and that someone else did another one, so that's sick. So thank you all for the comments. And it is GarageBand, which is, like I said, not the ideal program to use, but if you're just trying to have fun with music and just use it as a little canvas to experiment on, works great. Sometimes you need to do workarounds, like how I have to add distortion to stuff to make it not sound cheesy. Similar to how when I use iMovie to edit sometimes, because I sometimes use like what some of my editors use, like Final Cut or Premiere or stuff, but sometimes, since I know it better, I just edit something on iMovie, because I'm not usually the main editing guy. I just got into editing a year ago to do all these episodes, and I've edited some stuff in the past. And similar, on iMovie, you have to do like weird workarounds to make stuff work. Like, they won't let you add multiple layers, so you'll have to like flatten it separately and pretend it's one layer or whatever. Here, there's a bunch of workarounds, but we can make it work. Now let's see how it sounds if we build up a few elements. So like if the drum doesn't come right away, and the plucking will come when the drum comes, and the trumpets and choir maybe will, let's see. We'll see which ones we want to do. We'll add more instruments. Maybe we'll have this guy come in for a minute, but not for the whole thing there. And then he'll go away for a minute and then come back. Then when this comes in also, we're going to lose something for a minute. We'll lose the choir for a minute, and then it'll come back. And let's hear how this sounds. The beginning will sound a little sparse or whatever at the beginning, but it should work up. By the way, to whoever said, Jose, that you have a nice home studio and would master it, please email me at, I'll, briefly type this on here. Please email me at combouniversity@gmail.com. Anyone who wants to help me out with my projects in any way can do that, and things like video editing and animating are helpful, and mastering music is definitely helpful out as well. I'm also interested in if anyone may want to help mastering audio on some episodes where there's like weird stuff in the background and stuff. In any case, definitely email me if people have time and desire to help. So, by the way, to anyone who missed it, ChatGPT voted for the title along with ChatComboClass, and this is going to be the title of the track. And thank you all for joining me here. What we're going to do now that's pretty fun is we're going to look at what different tempos could be. Now, not different time signatures, which was this 4/4 guy. If I pretend it's 3/4, everything's going out the window. But the tempo here is how many beats per minute it is. So if I set that to 60, it's a beat per second. And you'll sometimes see that called BPM, or tempo. And BPM for beats per minute. So, sounds random, but what would this sound like if we had it slower or faster? Now, first we'll try faster, because I think it's less likely I would speed it up than slow it down. Sounds a little too quick at that speed. That could work, but what about a little slower than usual? Now, let's actually, for fun, see what it sounds like really slow. So that's way too slow, but you could imagine some types of slowness, not that I'm going to go this slow, working in a strange way. I think I'm going to go for that, which is just a slightly slowed down version of where it was at. So people who are leaving math thoughts and questions in the comments, feel free to do that, but I'm not going to get to them right away. And to whoever Jose also mentioned, Most Def's song Mathematics, classic song, great album, and that song Mathematics has a bunch of really well done mathematical things worked into the numbers and stuff, worked into the lines. And that's hard to do without being cheesy. Most of my lyrics are not that centered around math. The math lines slip in the cracks for fun because I like to think about them. But, making a math song that's not cheesy is a pretty hard task, but he achieved that. So definitely get that whole album, actually. One of the classic of 90s hip-hop. Also, this is just funny. I'm not going through all the comments yet. I'm going to stay on the beat for one moment. But whoever asked, am I officially a mathematician? Yes, I am on the registrar of official mathematicians held by the United Nations. No, what does it mean to officially be a mathematician? So, is being a mathematician my job? I don't know. I'm about to quit my day job to do ComboClass videos, so you tell me if that counts or not. Do I study math for a lot of hours every week? Yeah. But there's no such thing as being officially a mathematician. So, this, we'll take in a moment. I need a little breather to do our snack break with these strange fruits that I got that we're going to get in a minute. Although I will need to grab a knife for that. Leave a comment if you know what these are. Now, what we'll do now, though, is let's give this one more thing, and we're going to have one thing that takes a little longer to change. Something melodic, like maybe a flute. So let's see. Where would that be? Do they have flute? There we go. And we're going to raise the high, which is the treble end of it. These guys are basically doing this flute's like easier version of what this is, the EQ, where you can raise and lower all these points of the spectrum, which, you know, you got your trebly end and your bassy end. And it's interesting to think about, this will be an episode someday, the range that humans can hear versus other animals. You know, like, why is the largest piano they typically sell 88 keys? Well, the notes lower than that or higher than that would be pretty hard to distinguish in sort of different ways. The low notes, let's like hear that on the piano just for a second. Like, the high notes, it sounds like a tick. You can't even hear it. Like, I don't think you guys can even hear it through the screen. Do you hear these? It starts sounding like a snap or a click. And when you go to the really low notes... Oh no, I lost the note. Okay. When you go to the really low notes, they sound just like a stormy, like, stomach growling or something. So, they don't need to make more than 88 keys on the piano because our ears can only go so far. So, let's see. Yeah, to whoever asked about, do I have a degree? I've gone to college for about 2 years and studied some math, but no, I diverged to study math differently. I found I could do it a lot better through my own reading of books and articles and my own personal explorations and trying to solve things. And so, I do not, in combo class, we don't think degrees are really what makes someone's worth. A degree can be good for 2 reasons. One of which is it helps you in society. Listen to those birds, by the way. That is so beautiful. Let me record the birds and maybe we can get them in here somehow. We'll try and get the bird audio in. Okay. We're going to record 1 second. Let me try and lift this up. Can you folks hear those beautiful birds? Stop. Okay. That is just beautiful how many birds there are. Stop. Okay. I can't tell if they were recorded because it's the same noise as what's going on in the background. I think we can hear them. Let me find a way to turn it up really loud in here. Can we get bird sounds? We're going to use distortion to get us... Well, we'll just use a compressor maybe. Stop. Okay. No, that we don't want that stop to get rid of that. That didn't help as much. You can hear it amidst a lot of background noise. We'll see if we want to use that or not. And yeah, it's going to spook them if I keep playing it. It's also going to spook me if I leave it here, because when the song stops playing, if I'm not paying attention, it's going to come like 5 seconds after the song ends. Um, all right. And the other, I forgot to mention because of the birds. Degrees can help you get a job in society sometimes. I'm taking a slightly riskier path. And also, I have trained a lot of years in a music shop as a music teacher, which is why my day job is as a music teacher. And if I didn't have a bunch of success with ComboClass, the rest of this year, I would still be, teaching based on a skill that I did study for a few years in a setting, how to, music teach at a shop and stuff. And then I separated and taught the students myself. So there's other ways to get jobs. And degrees do help for some people. Degrees also help you gain a deep focus on a singular thing sometimes, whereas I was okay having a more widespread knowledge as opposed to a more focused on a singular topic. So that actually makes me a better teacher, but like less good at like inventing one thing or something, because I like to try and invent many things. And so some people are really focused and can do really good in a single field. A degree can help that. But it was not the path I chose. So let's listen to the beat again, and then we might take a... Whoa, that was weird. They just like all stopped at the same time. I bet you some like other scary bird came by or something. Look, now they all restarted. That was weird. They just stopped for 5 seconds and then restarted. All right, so we're gonna take a brief break in a minute, and during the break, I guess I can put the song on a loop. And what we'll do is I'll run and grab a knife and eat these cool fruits. And then we will... Now, let's add the flute layer first. We'll add the flute layer, then do snack break. Now, here's the thing. On all the other ones, I was using mostly scale notes. So, mostly chord notes. There was some exceptions, but mostly notes that were in the chord. And that makes it sound really good, but to give it extra depth, we want to add other notes in the scale. Sometimes even notes that are out of the scale. But like if I want to add... That F sharp hasn't often been used when the E minor chord was playing. That might be a little too high up. Is that going to sound too out of key? I like it not quite that high. We'll go up there for a moment. let's see how that sounds in context. Now, we're not going to necessarily have it going the whole thing, but we'll see how it sounds over this thing. It sounds best maybe when it's apart from the choir. So we're gonna put it when the choir's not actually. We'll have it and the choir alternate for now. All right, that sounds pretty awesome for now. I'm gonna run. Oh, yeah, when I turned up the gain on it, it's really loud. That's cool. So, I'm gonna run and get a knife and go to the bathroom, and then we're gonna do a little snack break with these weird foods, and then we're gonna add some more elements to the beat and try and evolve it a little further into a full track. So feel free to leave any comments you want me to answer while I'm snacking, and I'll be back in a moment. In the meantime, I will leave the beat running on a little loop. I'm not going to annoy the whole neighborhood. I'll have it not quite full volume, but hopefully you guys can hear it good. All right. To whoever is still around, I'm going to go through a few comments and cut these strange fruits for a little snack break. Then we will jump back into some beat making. And going back through some comments, we already went over the idea of the degree, but I will also add to that, where was I taught my music? Well, I had piano lessons that my parents did want me to get when I was young, so I took piano lessons for 5 or 6 years, and that did give me the start of some fundamental knowledge. And at that point, I learned to start wanting to make beats on GarageBand, and I also was in a rock band with 2 of my friends, and I was a piano player in that at the time, but I also got into this, beat making on GarageBand, and I was like 11 or 12 then. And so I asked my parents, like, can I quit the piano lessons? And they're like, sure, you're obviously focused on music in other ways. And then I just did my own various musical experiments over the years. I was in some bands. I was in some hip-hop groups. I ran a studio I have this one track that I got like 30 rappers on from the Bay Area where I live that I'll show you guys sometime. And all sorts of weird musical adventures. I passed out a CD of my music on the last week of high school, really nervously to everybody. I burnt like 30 copies of it on CD. And I've had a lot of musical journeys I'll share over time, but a lot of this was self-taught as well, with a little fundamental bass that I got from some piano lessons. And then I worked in a music shop for a while, which gave me a lot of weird other knowledge about how instruments work and about how one would teach music. So, shout out to that music shop. I won't say their name right now. I'll check with the boss if she wants me to or not. But still good friends with the boss. I left on good terms. And I'm going to film there someday because still friends with her. And I'm going to use the shop someday when it's not too inconvenient for them after hours and film in there so I can do music theory episodes in a room of instruments. That'll be pretty sick, huh? So that's part of grade -2, is during grade -1, I had to get surgeries. 2 surgeries last year, major ones, both hips. So I wasn't able to move much. I was actually secretly limping in a lot of the episodes in between and around the stuff. Now I'm better the past few months, mostly. My body still has issues, but recovered from the surgeries pretty much. And so now I'm able to get around more. We're going to do more field trips. There's going to be more episodes that start out here and then go to some random place. And we might even start that in the end of grade -1 with the finale episode. And we have just a few more episodes before the finale. And one is coming out tomorrow about this. So to anyone who wants to ponder this in the meantime, don't answer it in a comment if you figure it out. It says 2 + 2 = 2 times 2. 1 + 2 + 3 = 1 times 2 times 3. What's next? See if you can, unravel what that might mean on your own. It's a really good mental puzzle I recommend because it's one of the episodes that, although it gets weirdly mathy at times, it's a really digestible idea for a puzzle. You probably are familiar with those identities. Are there any others that fit their pattern, if you can, see any patterns? So you guys will figure that out tomorrow or think about it on your own in the meantime. And the reason I don't want anyone to comment is so anyone who wants to can have that puzzle while they're trying to go to bed tonight or whatever. And that'll be a really fun episode. It's another 19 or so minute, maybe 20-minute episode. Probably cut it down a little bit, get it to 19 minutes or something. And we will put part of this beat in it. It's the 5th last episode of the grade, counting the finale. And we will, at the very least, when I drop the credits at the end, we'll fade some of this in somehow, and we'll drop to this when the credits hit. So anyone who was here and then watches the main channel episode, leave a comment saying, I was there when the beat was made. So, let's see what other comments we have to answer before I cut this fruit. To whoever said, can I show the math bit up? I'm not sure exactly what you mean by the math bit, but if you mean, can I explain more about the math behind this? I will actually right now do a brief explainer of just a few things that happen here. What's happening here is a bounce between chords and notes, and the chords are inverted because they don't have their root name note in the bottom. They're not stacked in like 1, 3, 5 if you look at the scale letters. Then you can also tell that by the distances. A root position chord would have 7. The top would be 7 higher than the bottom in a root position chord. It's not here. 7 higher. Didn't I say something about 7 steps on a clock being related to one of our music theory episodes later? So, what's going on here is our drum beat. I'll explain the rhythm behind that later. Here, let's see, in these notes, I'm basically going like root note of the chord, bounce to a lower version of what's called the 5th, root note, walk up to the 3rd, and this walk up one isn't in, all the other ones are in the chord. This one is just in the scale, but not the chord. These are pretty much all in the chord. Here it goes like 5th, root, 3rd, and then next chords, root, 5th. So, we will explain more about all these in the future, about exactly what's going on here. Like this one was called an arpeggio to me in parts of it, because a lot of it, not all of it, like not that little bit, but a lot of it is a chord's notes, but stretched out individual and maybe multiple octaves. So, thank you all for the really nice comments, as usual. Those help me out mentally and motivate me and are awesome. So, someone said they're afraid of 138 BPM. Why is that? Is it that particular number? Or just the speed? So, thank you all. And yeah, being good at math, like what makes someone a mathematician, I think there's one expression or thing that people say is true, that it has partial truth to it and is really good as long as you don't assume it's like a rule and you assume it's like has some truth to it, is that it takes 10,000 hours to build a skill fully, to be a real master at the skill where you can fully focus on creativity, be going a different direction than someone else, but still be digestible. Like in videos, that would be your thing looks unique, but it's still just fun to watch in the normal way. Or in music, it's like you're catchy, but don't sound identical to everything else. And being able to focus on that and just like already have all the other like prerequisites automatic in your head can kind of happen for some skills after this approximately 10,000 hours. That's a really random thing. And you can see the progression in certain bands and artists. People who release their early stuff, like if you see the early Beatles music as an example sometimes used, it's like kind of generic pop music of the day. Not like modern pop music, but like what pop music was then. So good, great songs, but they had not gotten their 10,000 hours yet. And you can kind of hear it develop to a point where they had some mastery. And I'm a weirdly obsessive person that I've probably gotten 10,000 hours on certain random things. Some of the things that I think I might have gotten 10,000 hours on are making beats like this, maybe playing piano, but maybe not 10,000 hours on playing it. Probably not. I think I've gotten 10,000 hours rapping, weirdly enough. And there's going to be a future stream where on some of these beats, the stream will be called something like, I will freestyle about whatever comments you leave. Because I can freestyle about any topic. I have a lot of rhymes just built in there. And so that'll be a fun future stream, freestyle rapping about any topic. Maybe we'll do a hint of that at the end of this stream. If people want, we'll do a short bit of that at the end of this stream, maybe. Maybe not, we'll see. But in general, that is something for some reason, I've gotten 10,000 hours between freestyle rapping and writing verses and recording. And then the other 10,000 hours I've gotten are a little more obscure, like studying math, as you know. And it's hard to say which ones I've gotten 10,000 hours on. Maybe I'm still on the quest on some of those and still growing. Of course, that doesn't mean once you're a master you stop learning. You're always learning. It's a really rough random expression, but it does kind of, make you know that it takes a long time to build a skill, but that can be discouraging in some ways. It means there's a lot of work ahead to get great at something, but it can be encouraging in other ways because it means that the ways in which you're bad might just be ways in which you have not gotten 10,000 hours. So that's something to chew on. And looking at the other comments, let's see, we got a lot of comments. I'm not sure if I'm even going to be able to read these all real quick in the stream. I'm going to skim through the comments because there's a lot of them. So, someone asking about playing an instrument, and yeah, I play piano and guitar, and I can pretty decently play any instrument that's similar to guitar, like a bass or a ukulele. And there are skills I don't know at all. I do not know at all about how to play woodwinds. I know what makes them up because I worked in a music shop and sold them, but I don't know how to play them. I played clarinet for like 2 years in middle school and didn't want to continue. Or brass or certain things. I'm not great at drums. I can barely hold a beat on drums if I'm like playing them live. So, no one's great at everything. Some of the questions I don't have time to answer. Some of the questions I need to wait till grade -2 to answer if they're personal ones or future grades. The more that I can turn ComboClass into my job with your guys' help and know that this is going to be my steady job in the future, I'll become more and more honest with all the things that you wouldn't tell employers or whatever. Because I'm an honest person and I want to share stuff, but some comments I gotta skip. For now. And I'm plugging in my phone right now because it's over here. I need to just pick a few comments and then leave my phone over here plugged in for a minute. And someone's wondering why does infinitely many lengths make up an area, but finitely many lengths make up a bigger length? Now, if you mean as a simple mathematical definition, we'll say it's because it has another dimension. Each new dimension can't be described with an amount of the first unless you allow an infinite amount of them to count in some way. And so, if you mean philosophically, deep question. Why do we live in a world where there are different dimensions with a relationship where each can be seen as an infinitely thin cross-section of the next? Because you can continue your question. Why does it take infinitely many areas to make a volume? So the answer is because there's another dimension. But philosophically, who knows why and how these dimensions work? So, comments again in a minute. Now, with the comments, remember, let's, for a minute, keep it... Actually, all the comments are good, never mind. We don't need to worry about keeping it tidy. The more comments, the merrier. So, as long as they're nice comments, no one's allowed to be... people can make whatever joke they want here, as long as it's not being, mean to some particular community or person. If you're mean to some particular community or person, no. So, looking at this fruit, we got 2 interesting ones. We're going to save this for second, because we might take a very brief short field trip over there to look at where it was planted and look at the actual vines it came from. Leave a comment if you know this fella, what type of fruit that is. Now, what about this one first I'm going to open? Looks, and I got to be careful with this knife. If anyone on YouTube is watching, we're cutting fruit. TikTok once took down one of my videos temporarily. I appealed it and got the video back. But they took down a video for a bit until I appealed it because I was holding a knife and pointing at the whiteboard. Because I was like, hopefully YouTube's not as strict because I'm going to act it out right now. If I act it out and then YouTube flags it, oh my God. But I was just being like, so here's something on the whiteboard. And I was using a knife as the pointer. and TikTok took down the video. So it's like, come on, we got to make education exciting. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to get kids to play with knives. I'm trying to make education exciting. So I hope that YouTube continues to be on my side and not flag any of my videos, which on these channels they haven't yet. They flagged one, their age restricted one on an old channel I had once, but on these channels they haven't. And keep that up, YouTube. Thank you, because we're just trying to make education exciting. And that's why, you know, I even have a disclaimer in my videos that's like, don't copy any physical actions, which sounds way too extreme, but it means like no fire and tool copying. Now, here we got what looks an awful lot like an orange. Why would I be showing you an orange, though? You know what an orange is. Now, many of you may have seen this type of orange, but not all of you may have. So you see how it's slightly red on the outside? Well, guess what? Imagine you were hiking and you were starving and you didn't know about this fruit. And you were just like, came across a tree and you're like, oh my God, we found oranges. And then the inside looked like this. Would you still eat it? Very dark red with a tiny bit of orange in the middle. This is just called a blood orange. A lot of you probably have seen it. When it drips on you, it looks kind of like blood. Probably going to get some red stains on the lab coat by accident. But we're going to slice these and take a little bite because I need a little breather from making the beat in the comments. And then we'll be back to that in a minute. Leave a comment with whatever weird fruits you've enjoyed in the past. And if there's any I haven't tried yet, maybe I'll go on a quest to get one someday. Had a seed, but really good. Tastes like an orange with depth. Like, not quite grapefruity. Maybe the tiniest bit more grapefruity than an orange, but mostly like a different, it's really sweet. Like a different type of depth. Like, if you inserted to an orange a little bit of grapefruit flavor and a bit of cherry flavor or something. That's good. I'm going to do one more slice before we look at the other one. Now, haven't confirmed it about blood oranges, but it's probably true also. Almost all citruses have edible peels, so I could probably eat this, but I don't know. Maybe blood oranges have something weird about them, so I'll skip that. Orange peels in general are not the best citrus peel. Lemon peels, including the white part, are good, but orange peels are not top-notch. A little bitter. Trust me, I've tried all the citrus peels, and there will be... One sec, sorry. There will be an episode, either in late grade -1 or grade -2, about which peels are secretly edible that you didn't know were edible. Because there's a lot of peels that people forget they could be eating. And a lot of the time you don't want to eat the whole peel with the thing, but to know you could take a little bite of it here and there. Sometimes they actually add a little flavor. So we're going to do an edible peels episode, and it's going to include a flashback of a time I ate 2 lemons. And then it's probably going to do that pretty quickly, so we can also include a flashback of the time I ate 3 lemons. And when I say 8 lemons, I mean whole with the peels. So I ate 3 lemons really quick. You'll see that. I've done weird challenges in the past that, you know, maybe I'll have to put a disclaimer because they're not to copy. But they will be shown at some point. So, speaking of like one, like I have the craziest flashback footage you guys have to see. Like, speaking of haircuts that people keep talking about, I have footage of me shaving essentially by burning off my beard and by using like hedge trimmers and crazy stuff from back in the day. And yeah, I used to have access to all these broken guitars from the music shop. So I have all these videos of me doing insane stuff with guitars. So, in any case, we're gonna take one more peek at the comments. Actually, yeah, I'll look at the comments real quick, and then we're gonna look at the possible field trip that the inside of this thing and the outside is related to. So my comments are all the way over here. And yeah, the birds are awesome. So thank you so much to the birds. And thank you to any aliens who might be watching us on a telescope in the future, because it takes a while for light to travel. Let's give them a wave. All right. So, thank you all for joining me. We're going to look at this little fella, which, to those who don't know, is a passion fruit. Now, the passion fruit is really cool because it has really great flowers as well. Look at these flowers. They look like this, and they're really pretty. They're big. They're like this big. And then after the flower, they make these little circle things, passion fruits, that often, once you pick up, some are round, but they often get wrinkled like this one when you know they're ready. Chance this one's overripe. We'll see. But often the wrinkled is good when they're natural and stuff. These ones. So, the inside's weird. It's these little jelly-like seeds, and you eat the seeds, and they're crunchy, and you eat the jelly-like stuff. Looks like some weird alien food, or alien eggs or something. But it's pretty neat. It has a weird, unique flavor. Now, there used to be vines of it growing, like, right outside my window, practically, like a few feet away from my window. That the vines must have come from the neighbor's yard, because we didn't have the tree or the roots, but the vines would come around and make not only a bunch of passion fruits that would drop, like tons of them back there, and it would like too many passion fruits to get, and it would also make these really cool little spirals that the vines make. Now, that's what we're taking a real quick field trip in a sec to look at, are these awesome spirals. Now, actually, first we're going to look at what they remind me of. On Desmos, if we do polar coordinates, and we do like y equals, let's see, how do I do the polar ones? R equals sine of theta. Where's a circly one? This. Now, let's see. What's wrong with this? Superscript, maybe, is that not exponent? Yeah. So I want one that gets further tangled out to a degree, but it looks like this. The spirals it creates to a degree. Let's see. This is weird. Now, actually, it is funny that Desmos made sense here because Yeah, it also looks kind of like this sometimes, the vine. Like, but it looks kind of like the other one more, maybe. We'll put the power 5. No, not this superscript thing, Desmos. Exponent. Now, we are actually going to see Desmos in the main channel episode that's coming out tomorrow. Because, funny enough, to answer that question, you could ask, am I allowed to use non-positive integer numbers, like things like 0 or negatives or fractions or irrationals, to try and make an extension of these equations, and their secret link is the theme of the next episode, which is coming out tomorrow on the main channel, not this channel, remember. And here we have kind of what it looks like. It looks a little different than this, but sometimes it looks quite similar. It looks like one that's more circly and bundled up, like some of it's circular, and then there's like tendrils coming out and getting just a little bigger. So, not sure how to make that happen. Yeah, it's okay. We'll look at the plant in real life. So, what was I going to say about main channel episode 52? I don't know. We'll go on the field trip to see the thing. All right. So, heading out to the front yard that I share with neighbors that maybe someday we'll have, if we ever, I said in the last stream, if we ever get super rich around ComboClass for any weird reason, after making sure that we can make 1 billion cool grades of ComboClass, and after giving some money to a bunch of charities, if for some reason there was more money, we will buy the rest of the houses around there that share the yard and turn this giant yard we're about to pass through into a hedge maze. Right now it's just a cool yard that my family shares with neighbors, but someday maybe it'll be a hedge maze. So, let's take a little field trip. Oh, but yeah, what I was going to say is I forgot to make the link between those two. That's what I was going to finish real quick as a thought was these equations, we could say if I allow non-positive integer solutions to make some lookalikes or further levels, then we could figure that out with a graph on Desmos. And so we're going to look at some cool graphs to look at some non-integer solutions to similar things before we go down the rabbit hole of if we just allow positive integers, what's next? So, stay tuned for that one. So, I'm going to have to face you guys down for a second. This is the passion fruit plant. It may have gotten a little overwatered by the rain because it rained on it like crazy, but it's still going to be doing good. It's a new member here. And look at these little spirals. Do you see that little polar coordinate guy? Can you see that? It's a little spiral. Hope you can see that. Here's another little spiral. Look at this little spiral. Yep. And you know what it's trying to do? It's trying to reach to the fence to create a cool vine. And you know what someone else is trying to do? Their name is Dandelion, and they're trying to get pets. Come here, Dandelion. You want to say hi to the camera? Dandelion. There's Dandelion. He's such a sweetheart, and he's so soft. Everyone thinks he's fat because he looks big, because he's kind of like, I know it's like a joke term, but he actually is kind of big boned. And oh, there's Dandelion. And he also has a ton of fluff, but he's not overweight. The doctor said he's normal weight. Everyone just thinks he's fat. There's Dandelion. Did you guys see him rolling around? He does that a lot, where he's a little weirded out by the computer right now because he's not used to that. But he loves rolling around with his belly up and getting pets like that. So, I was going to show you something else on the passion fruit plant, but this guy's distracting me. Alright. Dandelion, what are you doing? Alright, one more thing on the passion fruit plant, and then we'll see if Dandelion wants to follow us or something. Down there, you can see the other passion fruit grown. Look. See it growing? Can you see that? I don't know. I hope you can see it. There's the other passion fruit. Okay. Hope you guys enjoyed our very brief field trip. Actually, we'll look at one more tree, which is this thing right here. Is a pineapple guava tree. Also known by some as the feijoa. Or maybe I'm pronouncing that wrong. There's little buds of it that's going to grow. See? These little buds. So, that's pretty neat. So, I'm going to make... Oh, no, we'll get a little more dandelion. By the way, if you join the Discord, there's a little dandelion emoji. You can comment on people's posts. Or it's sticker, or whatever you call it. Just saying. Okay, we're going to head back to the combo classroom. Dandelion, if you want to follow us, you can feel free. Oh, and look at this. It's too early for this tree to bloom, but it always tries for some reason. It's like already going. Back to the birds and the blood oranges. And now we'll see what's inside of the passion fruit that grew there. Whoa. All right. Look at this. Looks like a pod of alien eggs, doesn't it? But you eat them. Isn't that crazy looking to anyone who hasn't had one? And you just like slurp them down, and then the seeds are actually kind of crunchy. That's a good one. I'm glad the tree in our yard... Oh, dandelion came. That's a good boy for following us. That's a good dandelion. So, maybe he'll keep us company while we look at the comments on the chat and then return to the beat. I didn't bring my phone with me for the chat. I don't always look at the chat, for some people know, so leave all the comments you want in the world, but don't expect a quick answer. And I will look at that for a minute before we add another element or two to our beat. Okay. Looking at our chat, Yep, we got some Dandelion fans. I love Dandelion fans. Alright, someone asked if I'm vegan or non vegan and explained the reason. I'm not really going to go into it that much. Uh, I was vegetarian for like 5 years back in the day, like when I was like in middle school and high school. I'm not anymore. I eat meat and stuff. So, I don't know. I'll get more into that someday, maybe. So, thank you all for joining me here and for your comments. We're going to add another element or two to the beat. Now, okay, I can be here for a moment, then I'm going to have to get closer to plug the computer in. Let's get back to GarageBand here. And here is where I'll start the chapter again for wherever I timestamp it of us returning to the beat. And let's hear the full part we have so far, which is basically this phrase because I might just want the flute and choir to alternate. Oh no, repeat does weird stuff there. Alright, now what we're going to do to try and make it a little different, I'll just mute the bird one, is we're going to try and just use one or two elements and add something else on top. Like perhaps this is how more of the chorus sounds or something, and the verse only maybe wants to use a few of these elements and add something different. Wait, those actually kind of just bump on their own. So yeah, we're just gonna add something new on those for like what a verse or something might do. Or, you know, a sector of the soundtrack. So let's see how these synths sound. Some of them are kind of crazy, but let's try a few out. How about Bell? Why is it putting it over there? We're gonna want it higher anyway. We need some high stuff. Some of these may give some people flashbacks to my episodes somehow subconsciously because these are tones I've used in some other beats in my soundtracks at times. What are these like? Maybe we don't need the synthesizer. Maybe we need something else. Now, the problem with guitars is they sound kind of fake on here, and it's harder to copy the guitar sound or the string instrument sounds. The plucking sometimes can work, but not as much when you try and do like strums digitally. You can make it work, but GarageBand's not great at it, and we're using a simple canvas here today. But let's see what we can do with an organ, maybe. That's kind of cool tone. Maybe we'll try that out. Now, this really hints at the second chord during the first chord more than I was before, but maybe we'll try that for this sector. Now, we need a little gap between these. That'll sound kind of cool maybe once I have more stuff and this will be turned down a little bit. Let's add another. But let's actually use one of the instruments we had before and just do something different with it maybe. Maybe we'll try and do a really quick arpeggio that's a little different this time here. So that's the same pace as before. I wasn't zoomed in enough. So let's see. Is that, yeah. Maybe it has to go going into it somehow. I know I'm just putting them approximately halfway for now, so it might be a little off. I'll fix that at some point later. No, I want it to come into it, but this would have to be different, though. want it to go into the beginning. I don't know if it'll work. Maybe if I put this on the piano instead. Yeah, it sounds cool on the piano. Maybe I'll turn it up an octave, though. Up an octave means to the next version of the same letter, because they repeat in a modular cycle. Straight up similar to the clock stuff I talk about. It sounds kind of interesting. We're going to have this be a pretty subtle one. I'm turning it down in there instead of there so it doesn't change the earlier one. And it won't be going the whole time in the verse. It'll go for 4 at a time. And let's see if the choir can continue or some element. No, it'll come in a minute. Maybe we'll still have these alternate. Uh-oh, what happened to flute solo? Got changed by accident when I was doing the bells. So we have to fix flute solo. And yeah, I jumped into this without checking the comments. Sorry, folks. I'll check them in a minute. I checked them for a second a bit ago, I guess. So we got to fix the flute. That was under orchestral. It was under woodwinds. And we lowered some stuff and raised some stuff. We wanted it more high. We wanted less of these. Practically none. Maybe a little. And we need the verse to be more sparse. Maybe that'll wait to come in with those. Try something weird, which is what if this was in the flute? Probably won't work. It's not even playing all of them, I don't think, because the flute's built different. How did it sound in this? I think I'm going to make a copy of the piano that's going to have some different settings to make this fit in better. Now I'll also put its velocity back. And I'm also going to add more of a full chord on top here each time. Oh no. Where do we want to go to? Oh, by the way, look what it looks like on here. Pretty cool, huh? You can see why this was easier. So, what do we have going on here? I want to take this and where's my stuff? I forget how to add my stuff. Here we go. So we're going to change how much distortion and stuff was on it. What if we put more distortion but make it higher? Oops. I want to change this guy's tone. Let's see what EQ can do for us. You see, that's how the EQ, I'm raising and lowering the lower or higher parts of it. We're going to make one more change. We're going to make these chords last a little longer. And we can experiment with how these sound with the other ones too. So, like, we haven't fixed what's going on here, but let's just make a little region of this going on a little while to experiment. Oh no, I gotta plug this in. Make a little region to experiment with. Alright. I might be super glared out. I'm not sure, but sorry if that's the case. This is where we're near enough to the charger. So, yeah. So, what we're going to do here is make in this little test zone. See, how do these sound with the other elements? There's a lot of possible combos you could make here. So, like, how does with the flute sound with the trumpets, for example? Less necessary. They had a kind of similar thing. What about with the flute? That could work. What about with this guy? I think I might just turn this one down a lot and have it in a lot of the song. No, we need to like bury its sound a little more. Let's do the EQ. Well, let's do here. They have a thing. We'll do low more and high less. That sounds cool. What if we had that with this? Is that too much? Will this sound too crazy if I make this climb up an octave at some point? Let's raise this a bit to have more room to look. I don't need this thing. And we can merge these in a minute if this does work well. I'm not sure if it will. And then it goes up to... What if it continued the arpeggio here? No, it'll just start from there. And then it's going to start to do that, but it has to do a different diverge. And then come down somehow. So we're going to copy this. And we're going to put it here. Except that right near the end... What happened here? This is a little off somehow. So yeah, no copy yet. But no, that's when it happens. And then here, we're going to be in another chord for part of this. Wait, this isn't right still. What's wrong here? What's going on? Why do they... There's something weird going on here. I just need to start him way earlier, I guess. This part gets copied, but the next part's going to be in the other chord. Well, let's see. How'd that work? Oh, it's because they were going way faster than this. That's what's confusing me. So it does start here and then go really fast. These I'm actually going to cut shorter when we get into this, because we don't want them maybe to all overlap. What am I doing? These are able to go full length. I actually find this kind of meditative and fun. GarageBand is actually a free program on most Mac computers, and I think there's something similar on PC computers. It's kind of fun activity. Sometimes I won't do it for like months at a time, and then when I do it, I'll like, whenever I sit down, I just get absorbed in it. Where are we returning to? We're gonna make this low. Alright, I know this is taking a lot of adjusting, but I think it might sound cool once I get it right. I'm gonna get the chords out of each other's space, though. Oh no, I trimmed that one wrong. Those don't need to be trimmed. These need to be trimmed there. Basically, when one chord's going, it may or may not want the other chord's notes, but often the notes may not overlap. But I want to hear it back into itself. It's really crazy. It might be too much, but we'll hear it if it works, if it goes back into itself there. It's pretty crazy, but we'll try it in parts of it. Maybe it normally is doing that, and then it does this some of the time. So this is the old part going into the new part. Yeah, that'll be cool. So we're gonna have those ones go together. Someone wanted me to play it from the start. Someone asked what genre is it. It's sort of a mix between hip hop and something I want in my soundtracks, but it's just my unique style. If you listen to the background music in the main channel episodes, a lot of them sound kind of like this. And if you are on my Patreon for the $6 plus tiers, I've given them last night. I put up a bunch of MP3s of these. Well, 13 MP3s. So, thank you all for being around and commenting, whoever was here for the random comments. And yes, this one's called GarageBand. And this is going to sound pretty cool. I'm going to loop it, and then we'll see how it sounds like that. But to loop it, first let's see if this is going to sound okay on top of that or if it's going to be too much chaos. No, those kind of work separately. Alright, so I'm going to put this at the beginning because there wasn't enough going on there. And we're going to loop this in a moment. Alright, here it is from the beginning, and we can see what it looks like as a whole. Wait, let me turn this up. I might remove this from the beginning. Actually, we're not going to have room for that. We're just going to put this weird one at the beginning. Wait, somehow this guy got removed from that. I wanted it there. Sorry about this. This will also give me a chance to, here. After this, it's not going to go right back to the intro. So, it's actually going to, after this, I'll put a loop back to this thing. So, let's hear from the transition. We'll hear from here. So yeah, not sure exactly how that will loop once the whole structure is put together. But that's a nice little beat that got whipped up here. And if we want to listen or look at the individual components, whenever you reanalyze a beat, it's kind of cool to go through your parts. But we already saw them get built, so probably good on those for today. And we can see a lot of math in here as well, because not only was I doing a lot of stuff I didn't have time to mention about, like, I'm going to the fifth, I'm going to the interval of the octave, which are actually numbers in disguise. I have to tell my students that when we look at the numbers, it gives us the deepest level of understanding of the music beyond the letters. Some of them are excited, and some of them are not. And, because with music, there's letters for things, but the deepest patterns are when you look at numbers of the distances. Since it's distances between things, it's almost similar, I just realized, to how Euclid used to use geometry and treat numbers like distances. So, the other math we can see here is like these patterns. I wanted this to go on and off, sort of like even or odd numbers. Although, if we're talking about measures, sort of like numbers that are like congruent to two things within a mod of 4. And other things have different scales and patterns that we can see emerge. So, let me check our comments, and I think I might be close to done with this stream for the day. Someone said they need to get me a MIDI piano. I think I might have one. It wouldn't be the best one, but I think I got one for free from the music shop because it had some issue or something. So I have to look around. It might be one in my attic, but if anyone wants to get me a MIDI controller, sure. If anyone ever... I'm going to start a P.O. box before March. And if somebody wants to send me something that's not clocks, dice, or calculators, then you gotta maybe ask me on the Discord or the subreddit. I'll have a thread. And if you say MIDI controller, I'll be like, sure. As long as they accept it at the P.O. box. They might get mad at me because I might get the small size to be cheap. And then they have to just hold the box behind the counter. So, I'll see. But in the most important thing about that, look around for your old clocks. The old ones you don't need, broken or working, analog ones, not digital, and get ready to mail them to me. Obviously, most of you won't do that. You don't have to, but hopefully a few will. And yeah, the MIDI is cool for people who don't know about that. It's a little controller you plug in that looks like a piano. And when you play it, it sends the computer not audio, but information just about which key was pressed and how hard. And then you can set it up to whatever instrument like this. So if I set it to grand piano right here, it would be playing that tone if I had a speaker. And if I wanted to change that, I could like play the MIDI for a melody to make it sound live, and then I could tweak the notes if I messed any up because they're digital, or alter the volume of them after the fact, or change the tone of the instrument after the fact. It's pretty neat. So we'll do that in another stream. This was the first time we did any sort of beat making stream. There are plenty of options for musical streams between lessons on instruments, more beat making, deconstructing my old beats, showing you really rare music projects from my past, or freestyle rapping about whatever comments you have. So those are some future music streams we'll have. And of course, most of it won't be music. I spend more time with numbers than music these days. There have been times in my life I spent a lot more time on music than numbers, but spend more time on numbers these days. So we'll see. I do hope to release some Demotro albums, and I do have songs written on all of the beats that, like the ones, for example, that I put on my $6 plus Patreons. Those ones are all beats that I have like full songs written over of rapping and or singing that I'm going to record at some point before long. So there will be Demotro singles at some point. Related to that, in case people weren't here for the other streams where I mentioned it, I haven't made a bonus video or a short mentioning this, which I probably will because I'm worried it'll scare people away, is I'm going to change this channel name pretty soon to something like Demotro from ComboClass. It's going to have Demotro in it at the forefront instead of ComboClass Bonus at the forefront. ComboClass Bonus was a temporary title. I called it ComboClass Shorts first, then switched it to ComboClass Bonus. This channel's not even been alive half a year. And so, and by the way, 10 months ago was the day I filmed the first content that might have gotten on here, and was exactly 10 months ago from today was when I posted the first ComboClass TikTok, which was the first ComboClass footage online, because I was still editing the first episode. And I hadn't started this channel yet. So, in any case, there will be Demotro music coming and other things like that. So I think it makes sense for, even though they're going to be very similar in style, and there's going to be the same type of often math, a little bit of science, a little bit of music on both the channels. This one feels more like Demotro's Playground versus Demotro's Show. So I'm naming that one after the show. And this one, probably going to rename Demotro from ComboClass, or even something Demotro shorter. So be warned. Some of you may already be used to that because they made you take a handle recently. They're like, pick at something for your name. I'm like, do they have at Demotro? Because at ComboClass Bonus sounds too long. And I was like, whoa, they have at Demotro. Cool, I'll take it. And so at Demotro is what it says on the shorts already. So I think I should be good. But I'll need to change my picture to something with like me far enough away that I have the lab coat on and a bunch of clocks so they can know who I am. Because I'm worried that if I change the channel name, people are going to see the video and be like, why am I subscribed to this? I don't know what Demotro is, not knowing it's ComboClass Bonus. But they'll probably know it's me pretty quickly. So I'll probably be good. So just warning, I'll also probably make a bonus video or short letting people know when that happens. There are little changes like that will come on ComboClass because all of this is a crazy experiment that has happened to go quite well. And grade -2 will hopefully be an even better similar experiment. All right. The movie Pi. I don't know if I saw it. Someone asked about a movie. I haven't watched too many movies, honestly. I watch a lot of YouTube. Don't watch that much else. Although I do have like 10 or so TV shows or cartoons that have been really dear to me throughout life that I love. But apart from like all-time classic TV shows that I like, or cartoons that I like, I mostly watch YouTube. But yeah, I also watch YouTube in the background. I like multitasking on it, so I usually have a YouTube going while I have either a Wikipedia, a Wolfram Math World, an OEIS, a personal notepad of writing. Sometimes 3 of those because I want to be taking notes about something and kind of half watching something. And so sometimes there's like a lot of windows on this little screen. So I think I'm going to wrap this up pretty quick. I'm going to put the beat on more quietly in the background, and feel free to leave any last comments or thoughts or questions. So the next stream probably won't be beat making because I don't want people to think this channel is entirely that. But there will be these again in the future of different forms. Like maybe next time we'll also have a MIDI controller or a live instrument, or maybe next time we'll do freestyle rapping or something. So checking our comments. Cool, someone's recommending stuff, people are doing nice comments. Someone asked if I like jazz. I would say it's not my favorite of all genres, but good jazz I do really appreciate. So you have to be in sort of the mood to listen carefully and like weave your mind around some weird, like altering kind of jolty melodies and stuff that work in context. Jazz breaks a lot of the rules that stuff like rock or funk or hip-hop or stuff often follow. I followed a lot of these rules in that song, such as always being on my 4/4 beat, having things that are mostly chord notes, and if not, probably scale notes, and things like that. So, jazz breaks a lot more of the rules, which makes it very interesting, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite, although certain jazz can be amazing, but not my thing I listen to the most. My favorites are probably hip hop or classic rock. But really, I just listen to a lot of hip hop mostly these days because there's such a variety of sorts of that. It's become such a wide genre that's started including a lot of different styles. And don't spam comments, people, one thing at a time. No spamming comments. I am using GarageBand though. So I did not see Steins Gate either. I have seen very few. So sorry, I'm going to have to hide the one who asked many times. Sorry, fella. I just have to hide you because otherwise the stream looks too clogged. Nobody can ask if you ask something twice, I'll assume it's an accident. Don't ask something 10 times, you know. I'll get to the ones I'm able to get to. And if you really care about one, ask again in 5 minutes, you know. So, there's a lot of great genres of music. I would say I prefer of the type that you sort of have to think about to like. I probably prefer classical to jazz. However, they're both great. Jazz is more. I like breaking rules, and like I said, it breaks a lot of rules. So like, I support that. Um, just wait till you hear the Demotro albums, though. Um, they are going to be dope. So we're gonna wrap up the stream in a moment. And I hope you guys liked this alternate stream. We will maybe have every third or fourth stream be something musical related. Or when I have more of a good setup for streaming, when I have more of a crew here and I've separated from my day job and I know exactly what days I'm streaming, which has been hard to do, even though I've wanted to set that, which I should be able to do in March. And knowing that and having a crew and stuff, then maybe I'll have more like little segments that happen each week. Like, you know, this day of the week you get half an hour of music, then half an hour of Wikipedia, then half an hour of this or whatever. We'll see. For now, I've built this all out of the dirt. Oh man. So somehow the chaotic experiment continues to work. We are past 92,000, on our way to that 100,000. How wild. I love you all so much. I'm going to end the stream here, but I hope you all have a marvelous day. Tomorrow, I'm going to have a really cool episode on the main channel, and that episode is about this. For anyone who wants to think about it in the meantime. So, and it's a crazy episode. It has a lot of different parts. It has a part with graphs. It has a part with just simple patterns in number theory. And it has parts with fire and various stuff. All right, folks. I'll see you tomorrow in that episode or possibly sooner. Hope you have a marvelous day. That episode, remember, is coming out on the main channel. And make sure to check out the Discord if you want to chat with me and the Cool Combo Lords. And if you're really extra cool and you want your name in the descriptions and stuff, and your name on a whiteboard in the finale, make sure you're on the Patreon, where there's also a lot of bonus stuff. And you all are super awesome. Catch you next time.